Recent events surrounding Meghan Markle's podcast adventure has exposed her true nature. The revelation that she only interviewed celebrities for her show has shattered her victim narrative and highlighted her lack of originality and genuine emotion. As criticism mounts, Catherine, the Duchess of Cambridge, emerges as a powerful figure within the British monarchy. Meghan's failures and self-centeredness have led to increased scrutiny, while Catherine's strategic approach has secured her position of influence. It's clear that Meghan's attempts to build a media empire have faltered, and her victim narrative no longer holds weight. Curious about the chaos in the royal drama and what led to this situation? Stay tuned until the very end of the video to uncover all the details. But before we begin, please remember to press the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and show your support by liking and sharing the video. And with that said, let's start. In recent months, South Park's parody of Harry and Meghan seems to be more true than ever. Meghan Markle's image as a shallow and hollow person is gaining traction, especially after it was revealed that she only interviewed celebrities for her podcast. This revelation has shattered her victim narrative and exposed her inability to come up with original ideas or show genuine emotion. Valentine Lowe, author of the book Courtiers, has added new chapters that shed light on the response to the Oprah Winfrey interview. It was Catherine, the Duchess of Cambridge, now the Princess of Wales, who insisted on including the line, "Recollections may vary" in the press version. Catherine's reasoning was that they needed to leave no doubt about the accuracy of what Harry and Meghan said. Looking back, it becomes clear that Catherine was right in her approach. Various articles have exposed who Meghan Markle truly is and how her victim narrative has crumbled. Catherine, on the other hand, has not only withstood the relentless attacks from Meghan, but has also risen to a position of power within the British monarchy, a position that Meghan desperately sought but could never achieve. While Meghan's victim narrative once shielded her from criticism, it no longer holds weight. People are no longer accepting the argument that any criticism of Meghan is rooted in racism. The focus has shifted from Harry to Meghan, particularly following the collapse of the Spotify deal. Despite Meghan's attempts to build a media empire, her podcast failed to deliver compelling content and lacked originality. She is now struggling to find better deals and regain the level of success she had with Spotify. But her failures are largely attributed to her own shortcomings. Numerous articles have criticized Meghan for her vanity, shallowness, lack of effort, and absence of talent. The narrative of her being a victim of racism is unraveling, as she had the opportunity to succeed and yet failed to deliver. The collapse of the Spotify deal rests on Meghan's shoulders, not on the British press or the public. As criticism mounts, Meghan's media empire and victim narrative are crumbling. She's facing intense scrutiny and analysis, with many questioning her abilities and pointing out her shortcomings. Despite having all the resources and support, Meghan was unable to produce compelling content. This failure is in a stark contrast to other individuals like the author of this piece, who have ideas and would thrive with a team of 30 staff members. In contrast to Meghan's shortcomings, the recent Dutch royal summer photo call garnered attention. Despite the language barrier, the author highlights the importance of recognizing other royal families beyond the British monarchy and applauds the efforts to showcase them. The perception of Meghan Markle has shifted dramatically in recent months. Her victim narrative has lost credibility and her failures have been exposed. Meanwhile, Catherine has emerged as a powerful figure within the British monarchy. Meghan's inability to deliver on her promises, coupled with her shallow persona, has led to increased criticism and analysis. The collapse of the Spotify deal serves as a testament to her shortcomings, while other royals continue to captivate audiences with their engagements and activities. In recent discussions surrounding Harry and Meghan, there has been a growing perception that Harry is not very intelligent. Even his ghostwriter commented on how Harry's attempted comebacks during a hostage exercise were not as clever as he thought. Despite his awareness of this perception, Harry continues to push back against it, often to his own detriment. While Harry receives criticism, it's also notable how much focus is placed on Meghan. Previously seen as almost bulletproof, she's now facing scrutiny from unexpected sources. The Free Press, a platform on Substack, highlighted Meghan's refusal to conduct interviews with non-famous individuals on her podcast. This revelation led to a negative perception of her as lazy and entitled, and even as a snob. These allegations of bullying also paint her in a negative light, with accusations of mistreatment towards staff members and a general disdain for those she deems beneath her. Another article from Unheard delves into Meghan's personality, specifically her tendency to mimic other successful endeavors. The podcast Archwell Audio is criticized for its lack of authenticity, with Meghan reportedly delegating the interviewing to a producer and recording herself asking questions later. While some celebrities were interviewed, it's clear that Meghan's interest lies solely in famous individuals. This contradicts her attempts to portray herself as relatable and engaged. The article argues that Meghan's focus on herself is a consistent theme in her and Harry's endeavors, which is at odds with the image they try to project. This self-centeredness is seen as a strategic business move, capitalizing on their personal stories. However, the article notes that Meghan cannot even fake interest in others convincingly, as evidenced by her lack of genuine engagement with those she meets. This lack of authenticity extends to Archwell Audio, which is described as a simulation of a podcast rather than a genuine attempt to explore other people's lives. The article concludes that Meghan's focus on herself is a solid business strategy, aligning with the modern age and the classically American trend of monetizing one's own life story. While some may label Meghan as a grifter, the nature of her Spotify contract suggests that she could have produced subpar content and still received payment. However, she actively chose the podcast medium and format for Archwell Audio, which raises questions about her intention. Is it a result of convenience, opting for the easiest and most ubiquitous form of social commentary? Or is it a deliberate choice to enter the shallowest point of the culture wars, where activism meets relatability as a means to make a name for herself outside of reality television? Ultimately, the narrative surrounding Harry and Meghan revolves around their self-centeredness and the lack of genuine interest in others. This focus on themselves, coupled with a growing scrutiny, has led to a negative perception of the couple. As they navigate their post-royal life, it remains to be seen how they will address these criticisms and whether they'll make efforts to change their public image. Meghan Markle's podcast venture, Archwell Audio, has been met with mixed reviews. While some find her topics interesting, others argue that the issues she discusses have already been addressed in the past. One particular incident that drew attention was her interview with Mariah Carey, in which Markle seemed upset when Carey referred to herself as a diva. Markle's reaction to being called a diva highlighted her own narcissism and inability to see beyond her own perspective. The podcast itself lacks the intimacy that makes other podcasts enjoyable. Listeners value the connection they feel with hosts and guests, whether it be through passionate discussions or interesting conversations. However, Markle's podcast feels scripted and lacks a natural flow of conversation. It often feels like she's more concerned with her own image than building a genuine connection with her audience. On the other hand, Markle's narcissism is evident in her conversations with celebrity guests as well. She tends to redirect the conversation back to herself and her own experiences rather than focusing on the guest's story.
When I was 14, I planned my wedding. Not my actual wedding. That would have been a bit harder to imagine. This wedding was an assignment for my Religion 2 class in Catholic school. My dream for the future is to be single. The message, even at my feminist all-girls school, was as traditional as it gets. First comes love, then comes marriage.
This self-centered approach leaves listeners questioning whether Markle's intention is to share others' stories or simply talk about herself. Her obsession with her own status as the Duchess of Sussex further emphasizes her self-centeredness. Despite fleeing the UK to escape highly managed life, Markle seems even more constrained in her podcast venture. The podcast was a failure as evidenced by its cancellation by Spotify. Even Markle's fans cannot deny the lack of success despite the claims that it was #1 in some awards. The podcast cancellation demonstrates that the power Markle once held has diminished significantly. In contrast, Catherine, the Duchess of Cambridge, has emerged as a triumphant figure in this situation. She played the long game in her relationship with Prince William, positioning herself for a future role as Queen. Catherine recognized the importance of including the phrase "recollections may vary" in the palace's statement, as it left doubt about the accuracy of Harry and Meghan's claims. This statement has proved to be powerful as it has shown that their version of the truth differs from that of others involved. Markle's attempt to control the narrative through her podcast has ultimately failed. The lack of content and work ethic, along with the inability to produce enough material, led to the downfall of the Spotify deal. The failure of the podcast has left Markle reeling, and it's unlikely that she will ever regain the same level of success. Any future offer she receives will likely be significantly less lucrative than her Spotify deal. Overall, Markle's podcast venture has highlighted her narcissism and self-centeredness. The lack of genuine connection and the focus on herself rather than the guests or topics, have contributed to its failure. In contrast, Catherine's subtle maneuvering and focus on securing her family's future have positioned her as a triumphant figure. As time goes on, the victim narrative that Markle and Harry clung to has crumbled, and Markle is no longer seen as bulletproof. Critics now view her as a narcissist, desperate for fame, fortune, and attention. And that's all for now. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell. Because trust me, you don't want to miss out on the exciting content that's just around the corner. This is your host signing off, wishing you all an awesome day. Stay tuned.